architecture can be really give more and more to the construction of a civil society than a few wonderful buildings. You can do your work perfectly, but what else after that? No? What are you giving to the architectural community? Today it's impossible to produce architecture if you really are not creating at the same time your own common ground. This is a kind of signal of the times. It's very difficult to be innovative in any field if you don't build or you can't recognize yourself as a dot, as a point in a big network, no? Because it's the only way of having incomes, inputs, information, and at the same time understand be conscious if your work is useful for others to go on working. So this idea of community, architectural community, but also community in terms of intellectual community, I think is very pertinent in this Biennale, but especially because I think it's one of the main figures today in the fields where the transformation of the world is being discussed, no? And it's a good signal that architecture can be incorporated to these communities, because that means that we have something to do in the construction of a better world. I have interpreted this invitation to respond to the topic of the common ground like an effort to make visible some processes in the production of architecture where a lot of people are participating and usually are not so visible. So there are like three common grounds. One is the common ground of the people involved in the development of every project. These teams are every day bigger and bigger, and we have here some diagrams showing 100 people involved in the design process of one project. Other level is the common ground of people not necessarily involved in the day work, with whom we have conversations and confrontation, perhaps for years. And the third is the own conversation that you maintain with what's outside. But it's quite related to the method of working more than to the results or to the buildings. No? That's because in my installation there are not photographs, no renders, no big models. No? It's really a kind of abstract documents that could be a kind of library of details, library of diagrams, or library of ideas of architecture, but not museums or railway stations or Palace Congress that really they are. Designing activity is 10 or 15% of the work of the offices, and we need architects who can deal with a lot of situations. Of course, they will transform every situation into a project, but they are not going to be projects to be built. And so we need architects educated in many other disciplines like communication, or participation, or confrontation, or economical approaches, political activism, that are going to enrich absolutely the figure of the traditional architect. The architects doing projects in an office and building them one by one will, I think, will be a very, very few in the future.